Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. So I just wanted to update you guys really quickly. And actually, there is a new tool that your boy can use. It's been in existence for a while now, but I just was not aware of it. I'm glad I am now. I do want to give credit where credit was due. Um, I was listening to, I rarely do this because really I, there's not always much that can be offered that I'm not already aware of elsewhere from other Iowa Hawkeye content um, creators, I suppose, for lack of a better term. But every now and again, I do check in, and when there is something that I may not be aware of already, and this was actually, I believe, um, Go Iowa Awesome. I believe I can look in my history real quick. Locked on Hawkeyes. So I believe in being honest. I try and be as honest with you guys as possible. That is where I found out about this tool. And the tool that I am discussing is from Bart Torvik. And apparently, you can simulate what, based off of the computer's already set in stone simulation about how each team will finish the season, and you can do it per team. For example, if I choose Iowa, which I will show you guys I will be doing, if I choose Iowa, I can uh, predict their wins and see where Iowa's NCAA tournament odds lie. So essentially, before by the way, guys, if you guys are not subscribed, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Your boy really wants to get to 2,000 subscribers by the time the next football season rolls around. Help me continue to make this the fastest growing Iowa Hawkeye and Big Ten sports podcast that exists. But before I even get this pulled up, where Iowa was at after the Wisconsin victory was they essentially had a 3% chance of making the NCAA tournament. And I believe that was based off of them beating Penn State and perhaps beating like Illinois or Michigan State. So before I do that, let's look at Ken Palm really quickly. I just want to give you guys this. I'm trying to make this as condensed as possible. But in the end, if you are curious about Iowa's NCAA tournament chances, I am going to break it down every angle that it needs to be broken down to. So Iowa sits at 16-11. And I did the research, guys. The last 2 years, I went back 2 years. I actually researched quite a bit. Did you guys know that Iowa had a top 50 defensive efficiency team in 2019? I did know this before checking it out, that Iowa has not always been a terrible defensive team. And this really started to change, I would say, about 2021. 2020, Iowa was still a top 100 defensive efficiency team. Here, I'll just show you guys right now. I mean, it's pretty easy. But while I do this, so obviously 23 and 22, Iowa has been what it is. We'll go back dating to 2019. But so Iowa currently checks in. So I just clicked defensive efficiency, and let's see, Iowa in 2019. Well, what's easier is just to do adjusted O and find Iowa because they're always top 25 or so. It's easier just to find Iowa that way. But there was another stat that I wanted to tell you guys about. So I did here's Iowa. I did the research. Well, I'll tell you guys in a second. So in 2019, which Iowa was a 10 seed, they had the 15th best offense and the 111th best defense. That was 2019. I think actually I need to go back to 2018 is when I need to go back to. So in 2018, Iowa had the 19th. What year am I talking about? 19th best offense, 242nd best defense. What year am I talking about? I posted it on Facebook. Let me see. Because I did post it on Facebook. So let me see here. I know I'm kind of all over the place right now, guys, but just bear with me. So a side note, Peyton Sandfort, just so you guys know, I'll probably do a video on this, is legitimately, this is my post. Peyton Sandfort is legitimately on NBA draft boards / mock draft in both the Atlantic and ESPN's mock draft. They have Sandfort going 47th to the Miami Heat in the second round. I put Peyton Sandfort is legitimately on NBA draft board / mock drafts right now, mostly second round. As I have long said, the NBA loves guys who are 6'6" to 6'8" wings, who have confidence, good feel for the game, and especially can shoot it. Let me respond to this guy. So, I also put number one job of Fran McCaffrey retained Owen Freeman on the Hawkeyes roster, which is true. So I posted in previous, no, so that's about the quad victories. Maybe I did not post about this. I said, can you guys believe that in 2016, Iowa finished 30th in defensive efficiency and 34th in 2015 in defense of efficiency rating? According to Ken Palm, Iowa was not always terrible defensively under Fran. And this guy asked me what has changed. Namely, the philosophy. And that's a good question. What really has changed is the philosophy and the emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. Defensive. And development. So anyways, that's really what I wanted to point out with that. But currently, so just so you guys know, I wanted to make the point that Iowa has not always been terrible defensively. Fran is capable of having good defensive teams, above average, even anything above top 50 is an above average to good. There's above average, good, elite. I would say in the 30 range is good, approaching elite. So where things stand now, Iowa is 51st, according to Ken Palm. And I did the research. Here they are right here, 51st, 11th in adjusted offense, and 163 in adjusted defense. I did the research. The last 2 years that Iowa has made the NCAA tournament, okay, they have won. I looked up how many quad one victories they had. And keep in mind, both these years, they comfortably made the NCAA tournament, okay? And the last 2 years, Iowa has had 4 and 5 quadrant one victories. Now, bringing it out a little bit wider, I think the better stat is to look at what their combined record is for quad one and quad two combined. But obviously quad one holds more weight than quad two. But if you have, I would take it a step further and say, if you have, so two things I would say. If you have minimum 3 quad one victories, and you haven't done terrible everywhere else, you will have a shot at the NCAA tournament. I would also say that if you are above 500 and you play more than 10 combined quad one and quad two games, and you're above 500, you're in good shape for the NCAA tournament. So right now, Iowa has 2 quad one victories in Michigan State and Wisconsin. That road win against Michigan State was huge. And I said that was going to be the more winnable game as compared, because Fran McCaffrey and Iowa have won 5 of their last 6 meetings against Michigan State. I said that was going to be the more winnable game, even compared to Illinois at Iowa, because I wouldn't say Iowa has done bad against Illinois, but they have not done as well as they have against Michigan State. Against Illinois, it's always a very, very, very hard fought game. So Iowa, with that victory over Michigan State, they jumped 5 spots to 62nd. So dating back to before Wisconsin, they have moved up about 7 or 8 spots. The victory over Wisconsin only moved them 1 or 2 spots, but this road victory, combining those 2 victories, has done wonders for Iowa. So this is their team sheet. Iowa, their live RPI is 77th. And keep in mind, I do think that the RPI is slightly considered for the NCAA tournament. Keep in mind, Iowa has made the NCAA, the net and the RPI are not always the exact same. For example, one year, Iowa made the NCAA tournament with the top 50 net ranking, and they were like 70th to 90th in the RPI. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the discrepancy was massive. So here we are. Obviously, they have the 2 quad one victories. They're 2-7 overall. They have not had as many quad one. So when all is said and done, Iowa will have, so they have 2 quad one games remaining. Iowa will have played 11 quad one games. And in previous years, they played about 13 to 15 quad one games. So, and I've told you guys previously, it really depends. You know, if you have a really solid veteran group, I would say playing as many quad one games as you can is the smartest thing you can do. Just by sheer volume, you will have picked up at least 1 or 2 quad one victories. Minimum. If you have more of a developmental team, I think it's smarter to temper that slightly, but still play a decent amount, because in the end, win or loss, you have to give yourself chances to pick up those quad one victories, and you can't pick them up if you don't play them. So you have to put them on your schedule. So the remaining, actually, I take that back. Iowa has 3 quad one games remaining. They have Illinois twice, and they have Northwestern. So let's take a look here. So where things stand, you know, is it possible that some of these teams move in and out of, you know, is it possible that one game becomes a quad 2 game rather than quad 3, one becomes quad 4 rather than quad 3, and one becomes, yes, that is possible. But I would say that most of the games Iowa has in the first 2 quadrants are pretty safely in those quadrants. Purdue's not moving. Iowa State, Creighton's not moving. And the two victories that Iowa has in the quad one are not moving. Wisconsin is 21st. So the away will stay there. And as long as Wisconsin stays top 30, which currently they're 21st, the home victory over Wisconsin will stand as quad one. The neutral game against Oklahoma, Oklahoma has dropped a little bit since then. They've dropped down to 40. And neutral to be considered quad one, it has to be a 1-50 game. So they would have to drop 10 spots for that. Maryland at 72 is barely in quad one. And honestly, that loss is not looking as bad. But the thing is that at the end of the day, even though on the resume it doesn't look as bad, for us Iowa fans, it still is bad because that was a very winnable game. And Iowa could easily have a third quad one victory had they been able to keep the lead that they had against Maryland. That game and the Michigan game are going to be early in the year, are going to be the two games that Iowa wishes they could have. If they don't make the NCAA tournament, those are going to be the two games that they wish they could have back, which is what Fran said in his post-game conference against Michigan State. So, and then for example, like Arkansas State, a mid-major, which almost all of those games are quad four. You know, I said early in the year, if one of those could jump up to quad three or a couple of them, that would be very helpful. And currently, Arkansas State has done that. None of the other teams are, North Dakota. None of the other games that Iowa had is going to against mid majors is going to move to quad three. It's just not going to happen. They're too far back. But Arkansas State was the one team that it did happen, and they are on the verge of quad three, quad four. Currently, they're quad three, but because quad three is home 76 to 160, and they're currently 156. So hopefully they can stay quad three, because honestly, guys, at this point in the year, them moving to quad four would make a bigger impact than you would think. All right, let's look at this. This is the main thing I wanted to show you guys. So I'm not sure exactly what this is. It's called NCAA team sheets. And I don't know exactly what I think what it is an accumulation of all the major ratings and rankings, net rating, KenPom, and it averages it out to give a percentage, and then it ranks it based off of a percentage chance of them making the NCAA tournament, and then it puts it here. So right now, Iowa is at 62nd. Maybe this is the exact. No, this is the net ranking right here. This is the full-blown net ranking right here. Yeah, this is the net ranking. This is not so disregard that. This is not an accumulation. So let's pick Iowa here. One team that Iowa should hope continues to win is Seton Hall. That was a victory Iowa got at a neutral site. I think that it will remain a quad two game, but so Seton Hall would have to jump 14 spots for that to become a quad one game. But so anyways, so we'll click Teamcast here. And guys, we have looked at this in the past, and I've showed you guys the player ratings, which I think is very interesting. and it shows you, I mean, Bart Torvik, unlike Ken Pom that you have to pay for, gives you all of these free statistics. And as you guys can see, Iowa is really good offensively. They have green everywhere. But defensively, they have a lot of red splattered all over the place. Against Michigan State, their turnover percentage was bad, and the 3-point percentage they gave up was not good as well. So, anyways, and then you can look at the player stats. So, Peyton Sandfort has played 74% of the minutes. Tony Perkins 76.6. Ben Krikke 73.5. Owen Freeman, who Fran McCaffrey has to secure this offseason. And by the way, guys, I haven't heard any rumors of him transferring out. It's just in this day and age, I would not be surprised by anything. And I will say the good news is that his friend who transferred to the same high school together, I don't know if Freeman followed him or he followed Freeman, but Brock Harding and him are very, very good friends. So there obviously is, and of course he's from the Midwest. There's a lot of things keeping him at Iowa, and Iowa has had a recent track record of sending guys to the NBA. So, I would say that there's an 85% chance of him returning to Iowa next year. So anyways, if you guys want to check that out, you guys can. But the main thing is the NCAA tournament. So we come here. So this projected T rank has Iowa 51st. I don't know exactly what that means. I'd have to look, but or tournament rank. I think that's what that means. So what we can do here is, as I have told you guys, Iowa has to. I said Iowa in the remaining games after Wisconsin. I told you guys that Iowa would have to. So, no, actually, including, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I said Iowa would have to finish, if they wanted to have any shot in making the NCAA tournament, pre-Big Ten tournament, of course, because the Big Ten tournament is a wild card. It's very hard to include that in any projection. But if Iowa wanted to make the NCAA tournament, or put themselves in a really good chance to make the NCAA tournament, free Big Ten tournament, they would have to finish after the Wisconsin game 3-2 minimum, with one of those wins coming at Penn State. So they beat Michigan State. That's one down. They still obviously have to beat Penn State. If they lose to Penn State, it will essentially be over. They would have to go on a very strong run to finish the year. And they have to win. They have to pick up 2 more here. Now, if they 2 more in these final games. Now, if they can win 3 more, if they can go 3-1 in the final 4, I will confidently say that they have positioned themselves squarely in the NCAA tournament. So let's just do the projection. So let's say Iowa loses on the road to Illinois, which I think is a safe bet. I think that will be a tall order. I know that they beat Michigan State on the road, and I know it's very hard to do it, but to do it twice in a row to 2 quad 1 teams is twice as I mean, it's really hard, guys. Really, really hard. Suffice it to say, we'll go win over Penn State. And just for shites and gigs, we'll do loss to Northwestern, but we'll do win over Illinois. But I will say, I actually think that Iowa has a better chance of beating Northwestern on the road than they do Illinois. So let's just see what it gives us with that. Okay. So with that, it would put Iowa as in the first four out. Okay. And it still has Seton Hall in there, even though Seton Hall is actually below Iowa now in the net rankings, which is kind of odd. But sometimes there's a there's an aspect to this that you just can't put your finger on, that you can't truly decipher what the difference is, why, what, because like I said, Iowa is above Seton Hall. They beat Seton Hall, and this still has Seton Hall in the tournament ahead of Iowa, if that's how they finish. So if they finish 2-2 in their final four, they would be projected first four out with some work to do in the Big Ten tournament, with a lot of work to do, really. They would have to win minimum 2 games, in my opinion. So let's change the Illinois game to a loss and the Northwestern game to a win and see what that gives us. Sorry, guys, my allergies are killing me. My nose is so stuffed up. So that would move Iowa back one spot from the one that we have seen, and they would be first in the next four out after the first four out. Okay. All right. So let's change Illinois to a win, and essentially Iowa wins their final 3 games. All right. I already know it will have Iowa in the NCAA tournament. It would have Iowa as it would this just shows you the difference just one game can make. It would move Iowa from first four in the first four out all the way past last four into the last 4 byes. So if they won the final 3 games, Bart Torvik has it as them being squarely in the NCAA tournament. Now, I realize that is a tall order. Okay. I do realize that. But Iowa is hot right now. They're hot. They're hot. So just for shites and gigs, let's say that Iowa loses to Penn State and loses to Illinois on the road. Let's see where that puts us. First, it puts them at second in the first teams out. So they would have some work to do in the NCAA tournament. So let's go back to this, okay, with the win over Penn State. And let's have a loss against Illinois both times. And let's say let's see what this does. I don't even know. Do I have to put a team in? Let's say they play, I don't know. Last time I chose Indiana. See, that's the whole thing about this. It's hard to predict who they're going to play in the Big Ten tournament. But let's just choose Indiana, I guess. And I wonder what that did. Oh, dang, it moved them to 5th and the first team's out. I don't understand that. Oh, because it didn't have the location. So let's see. What if I keep it blank? Let's see what it does. So 5th. Okay, so let's have it be Indiana. Okay. So I think it's keeping it at 5th if Iowa were to beat Penn State and Northwestern but lose. It's the previous one I did. Whatever the previous one I did. I can't remember, unfortunately, guys. So let's just say they defeat Indiana. Oh, this is what we can do. We can just go add conference tourney sim. Wow. Has them losing to Indiana. And then it has them beating Indiana, beating Illinois, and beating Nebraska. So it's kind of. So if they did that, if they won 2 games, it has them as fourth in the first 4 out. So essentially, guys, they have to they have to win 3 of the remaining 4. Oh no, it has them as last 4 in if they do this. So if they do this, okay, if they lose to Illinois, they beat Penn State, they beat Northwestern, and they lose to Illinois again. And in the Big Ten tournament, they beat Indiana or one of the mid to lower teams and beat a team like Illinois and then lose, they would be one of the first 4 in. But that's the thing with this, guys, is, it's very difficult to predict the NCAA tournament. So I don't want to do that any longer. Let me see if I can just erase whatever I did. So this is very interesting. This is a nice tool, guys. I would highly recommend checking it out. So I would say, based off of this, guys, that Iowa has 2 paths, okay, to make the NCAA tournament. They either have to win 3 of their last 4. So if they want to be squarely in the NCAA tournament, pre-Big Ten tournament, they have to win 3 of the last 4 games remaining. If they cannot do that, and one of those 3 victories has to be against Penn State. They cannot lose to Penn State. If they cannot do that, and let's just assume they beat Penn State as one of the teams that they do defeat, they will have to win essentially 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. So I feel pretty safe in saying that according to Bart Torvik in their simulation, that is where things stand. Of course, when you have a committee that decides things and they choose what they will weigh the most and what they will add into the mixture the most, because what we have seen with committees is they have human elements to it, such as, is a team hot? Have they finished the year strong? We see that in college football playoff all the time. And they do that in the NCAA tournament as well. Has a team played hot, or are they playing abysmally to end the year? They played well early in the year, but towards the end of the year, they're absolutely not an NCAA team. They've lost a majority of their games. They started the year 15-2 or 15-3, but then to finish the year, they finished 2-7 or 2-8. So there is the human element that I cannot predict. So, but I just wanted to give you guys a rough shot of where things stand. I know it was a little discombobulated, but we got there in the end. I hope this helps you guys out, and you guys found this interesting. Your boy always provides you the content that you need, and I appreciate all the support. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy, will out and facts our feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.